Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Chartered Management Institute Sri Lanka Branch, I warmly welcome all of you who have joined us both physically and virtually. At CMI, our vision is better led and managed organizations. We believe informed leaders will make better decisions and execute effective strategies. Hence, CMI Sri Lanka has organized yet another knowledge sharing session on a very timely topic for a very critical industry for Sri Lankan economy. Before we get into details, allow me to introduce CMI Sri Lanka Branch President, Mr. Kaushal Rajapaksa, to share some thoughts before we start this webinar. Kaushal, if you may.
Good evening to all of you. As the president of the CMI Sri Lanka Branch, I warmly welcome all of you to our first webinar for year 2021. The now normal COVID-19 has challenged the foundation of our way of life and business, have built capability to handle continuous change. The last few months has been business making major decisions on a daily basis. Through our webinar today, our objective is to explore some of the opportunities inherent in the now normal. We have had already 2 international webinars last year and also a management and knowledge sharing session webinar conducted by our own EXCO member, Professor Ajanta, with the topic of leading in pandemic times from resilience to results. Today, we are happy to see our own member, our Mr. Nirmalan Nagendra, who have wealth of experience in finance in the hotel sector, coming forward to conduct this webinar, along with our capable moderator, Mr. Chaminda. Sri Lanka branch of UK, CMI, will be celebrating its silver jubilee in this year. So having said that, we have lined up many events of webinars because of the pandemic situation, since the physical gathering is restricted, to commemorate this 25th anniversary. With the commitment and the hard-working EXCO that we have in CMI, we are confident that we can give all of you the best of management for you. So having said that, I take this opportunity to wish you all a very happy and a healthy and a prosperous 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaushal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, just for us to start the session, we know the impact of tourism industry to Sri Lankan economy is substantial. In 2018, we did 4.3 billion US dollars. And in the space of 2 years' time, that figure has gone down to less than 1 billion. As we know, we have the impact of Easter attacks and then the current COVID pandemic situation that is prevailing right now. So I believe the topic couldn't have been more relevant. And the industry, like I said, it's a very, very critical industry for Sri Lankan economy, especially at these times. So for such an important topic, for such a mammoth industry for Sri Lankan economy, we do need a similar caliber individual to discuss, to share expertise, to share knowledge with all our participants who are related to this industry, as I am aware most of them. So let me give a very brief introduction, because for our resource person who's very resourceful. Actually, this individual needs no introduction, in particular hotel industry, but it is my duty to share some words about this individual. Nirmalan Nagendra is a fellow member of Institute of Hospitality UK. He's also a fellow member of Chartered Management Institute UK. Nirmalan is also a fellow member of Hospitality Professionals Association. Nirmalan is also a consultant to KPMG. He was a finance director for so many hotels, including La Meridien and Park Hyatt hotel groups. There are so many hotels that Nirmalan has worked, including which spans for over 10 countries, including USA, Caribbean, Middle East, and Singapore. Nirmalan has also completed General Manager Program at Cornell University, New York. He holds a diploma, AHMA USA, Association for Hotels and Motels Association. Nirmalan Nirmalan loves to introduce him as just a commercial accountant, but he put more emphasis to introduce him as a team player, as a we person. Nirmalan likes to introduce him as a practical person. So I request all our participants to recalibrate your expectations. He is not your conventional, typical accountant. What you expect from a director finance to a deputy general manager to a general manager, as his career has progressed over 35 years of experience that he carries. So without further ado, Nirmalan, I formally thank you on behalf of CMI Sri Lanka for taking your valuable time to share your knowledge. Allow me to ask you a very simple and yet very important question, because you put such emphasis on this. How important is attitude for you in these difficult times?
Thank you, Chamin. Thank you. I worked about 40 years in the hospitality industry. To me, attitude is everything, because nowadays the younger generation comes with 4 or 5 qualifications. One in marketing, one in accounting, one in engineering. So they are all rounded people. But what they must understand, in life, everything is attitude. People must be recruited for attitude. They should be willing to do any job, multi-skilled, and then their job will be more secure. Right. So that's my humble opinion after about 40 years in the hospitality industry.
Fantastic. Could you expand a bit more into multi-skilled for the benefit of our participants?
Sure. Especially in these times, since March, all the hotels have lost their top line.
Yes.
Virtually 90% of their top line is gone, because normally the hotels have rooms, which makes all the profit. About 80% of the profit comes from rooms. F&B makes about 35 to 40%.
Right.
So in these pandemic times, virtually there are no guests, maybe 2, 3, 4 guests in long staying guests. So no top line for us. F&B was doing reasonably well with the local guests.
Right.
Up to October 2nd, till the second pandemic came our way. We were all very happy going out, having meals in 5-star restaurants, 3-star restaurants. But you can't cover the cost with F&B. So the main thing is we have lost all the revenue. So where lots of people have made people redundant, they have sent them home. Some hoteliers have been very good and they have protected their staff, because it's essential to look after your staff.
Yes.
Because you can't get trained staff later on, so it's very, very essential.
Right. Allow me to pick from something you just mentioned about looking after staff. Could you explain why is it so important, especially at these days, looking after your staff?
If I may slightly deviate, I went to Cornell 25 years ago. I was the only director of finance, and there were about 58 general managers and 1 or 2 sales directors. They all came thinking that they will learn some rocket science. You know what we ultimately learned? Look after your associates. They will take care of the guest. Happy guest will return and top line will grow. So that I'm a strong advocate of that. We have to look after our staff. Everything is our staff.
So what Nirmalan is saying is staff really matters even at these difficult times.
Now, I know being an accountant, we are always looking at fixed costs. So especially during the pandemic times, we have to look at our wages. 80 to 90% of the people have still been paying the basic wage, though they are not being paying the service charge. Some good hoteliers have averaged their service charge of previous years and still paid the service charge a small amount, maybe 5,000 to 10,000. Because the whole hotel industry may be directly 250,000, indirectly more than 1 million people with tour guides and all they have lost their jobs. And they're all trained people. So it's very, very important to look after your staff.
Right. Again, allow me to probe a bit more on the same topic.
Please.
Sometimes in the whole process, especially when the sales and the guests and top lines are not there, it's easy to take that option of letting staff go. At the same time, sometimes can we overlook the actual cost of hiring and the challenge to acquire high caliber staff?
It's a very good question, one which I love to talk about, because people forget that cost of hiring is very expensive. Well-trained staff are very, very costly to hire. For example, if you take a basic salary in Sri Lanka, it's between, for a waiter, it's between 13,500 to 16,000 rupees. And we think that's all. That's not true, because when you pay them the 12% EPF, 3% ETF, when you add the staff feeding, which is about 200 rupees a day, then you add the gratuity, then you add the holiday pay. All these, when you add, your basic wage and your on cost is about 100%. People don't understand that. And they don't even market it with their staff.
So what you're saying is the HR team can actually convince the employee and market it better by talking about the actual...
Yes, because they must tell the staff in a nice way, you're not costing us 13,500, you're costing us virtually 26,000 rupees, double. So then they'll understand that the employer is really looking after them. So talking about the pandemic time, so cost of hiring is very, very expensive. If you go abroad, to bring down an employee, you have to spend on air tickets for the family. I'm talking senior staff. So all these are very, very costly. So it's much better to give a 10 to 15% salary increase if you're happy with your staff, and to protect them and keep them.
I think that's a very important point you're highlighting. So just to emphasize, what you're saying is, for certain staff, even by paying extra and retaining them could work out cheaper and better option than firing and trying to acquire new talent.
100%, 100%. I totally agree. Now, during these pandemic times, some of the hotels, 4 to 5 star hotels, might have been forced to let some staff go.
Right.
But please, before rehiring, especially in HR, in accounting, in security, you all must think again. Try to hire multi-skilled, good attitude people. And in admin and HR, you all must be lean and mean.
Okay. Let me again go back to that multi-skilled. Could you share an actual example of in the hotel trade of a multitask individual who would perform a variety of tasks, please? For example, maybe someone in the reception. What other tasks that he or she should be able to do?
No, now in this, in a small good hotel, a receptionist can double up as the telephonist in the night auditor in the night. The receptionist can take the guest to the room. She or he can act as the doorman. So all the front office staff, they should be able to do. All the tasks, they should be able to do. Now, just to go back 25 years ago, when I was in Barbados, in Sandy Lane Hotel, on Saturday, the Concorde used to come, 99 seats, and about 60 of that was for our hotel. We as accountants, account staff, my staff used to be front office receptionists. Then we take ownership, introduce the guests to the F&B manager, the restaurant managers, that this guest is going to stay 2 weeks. So it's very, very important that even accountants all be multi-skilled. It's very essential.
Okay. Talking about multi-skilled, how important is to work as a team?
This is one of my favorite topics again. Now, if you take the hotel industry senior staff, there are about 8 senior managers, from the front office manager or the rooms division manager, the executive chef, the chief engineer, director finance like me, the F&B manager, the HR director. I think I've covered all of them, about 7 or 8. But unfortunately, I don't know much of Sri Lanka because I'm only back 4.5 years, but the little I have seen, 90% of our management have a bit of ego, They think they are unique. Yes, they are unique, but what happens if they work together? Now, when I was a controller, I used to have a cup of tea with the front office manager, with the F&B manager, with the chief engineer. All of my colleagues can help us to reduce cost, particularly in these pandemic times. And the housekeeper was my great friend because I used to tell her, now this month, we don't have much of money because no top line. And she'll tell me, don't worry, Nirmalan, I have enough of soap taken and kept. I have enough of conditioner. I have enough of shampoo. I have hidden them in each floor because if you look at a housekeeper, in every floor in a 5-star hotel, she has a small room. So that particular month's expense, it doesn't hit the P&L because she has already overdrawn. But if you are not a team player and you don't take them into your friendship, they won't help you. And if you talk about the chief engineer and a big wedding, a normal chief engineer will not put the AC on till 2 hours before the function.
Right.
Unless the mother-in-law comes early and checks the place, So a chief engineer can help you, a housekeeper can help you, an F&B manager can help you. So it's all team because all these staff are unique. But unfortunately, I find, beginning from where I work abroad, they are all not we people. So please, partly the accountants are to be blamed, because they are in their rooms, number crunching, not talking to people, not helping them. So it's very essential.
Okay, okay. Very, very good points there. Before I come to number crunching, I want to ask, working as a team, not just within the hotel, what about working as a team, hotels themselves? I do remember once you made a remark about going into price war, undercutting each other. What are your thoughts around that?
Oh, very sad situation, particularly in Sri Lanka, because I personally think we mustn't talk about people. I think in 2019, we had about 2.2 million people coming. But it's not the people. How much do they spend in Sri Lanka? Do they take a kangaroo cab? Do they take a auto? So my personal view is that the guests we attract, if you take a pie, we must have all these segments, but 60% should be guests who at least spend 200 US per day. That is, they stay in a hotel with 125 US. They go out to eat. They take an auto. They take a kangaroo cab. There is indirect employment. Then 10 to 15% stay in classy, good hotels, which might be 200 to 250 US. But we also need people who come with backpack, spend $6 per room, maybe 10%. Okay. So I am a great advocate, 60 to 65%, 200 US spending tourists. Okay. 10%, $6 backpack tourists. We need that segment also. Right. Then we need high spending tourists, maybe 15%, who spend $250 to $300. Then Sri Lanka is doing well. So I'm a strong believer, don't ask me how many came. How much was their average spend per day?
Okay, very important.
You know, that's very, very important. Because being an accountant, I've worked in many countries, a good business hotel here in Sri Lanka might have a room rate of about $125 if they're lucky. Now, talking about price war, I worked in a few hotels. I did some review in Candy hotels. Very sad. Each one is undercutting each other. They are selling the room rate for 85 US half board. So if you take 2 breakfasts, 2 dinners out, the owner is left with about 4,000 rupees for the room. What can you do with that? You can't even refurbish your hotel after 25 years. So my thing is, hold hands, talk together. At least we must make 100 US per room per day, even in the suburbs, even in Habarana, even in Kandy. Without making 100 US, you can't make money. If you make 100 US, you might manage to do a rooms profit at about 75 to 80%. So that's okay.
Allow me to interrupt there, and allow me to be the devil's advocate. Post-COVID,
yes, I know what they're coming for.
Now normal, what you just said, is it still valid?
It's a big challenge because there are 2 sides to it. Now, since March, we have had no rooms sold. Maybe if you're lucky, 1 or 2 long-staying guests. As an owner, you will say a closed room is no revenue at all. So I rather sell it for $40, $20 and make some money to cover my salaries. That's one side of the story, which is very, very valid. Second one is, with these search engines like Agoda, Bookings.com, TripAdvisor, all of them, once you reduce the price, which you were normally charging 125 to 40 US, very difficult to up it again. Okay. So it's a challenge. I can't give you a definitive answer.
Sure.
But me personally, I would still hold the rate because now the vaccine is going to come. So bad times are all gone, hopefully gone by about March even third week of January, we are hoping to open the airport. So to answer your question directly, I would still charge a nominal sum, maybe 100 US, and try to attract the guest.
Right. On the same topic, allow me to ask, in terms of budgeting, in terms of forecast, maybe there are finance directors listening. What would be your advice?
That is also one of my favorite topics. Normally a budget, say for 2021, would have been done about October, November for the ensuing year, which is 2021. So that is also should be done with as a team, not one-man show done by the accountant. But abroad, I learned your budget should be reforecasted every 3 months. So we must take a camera picture. Now we are in February. Sorry, we are in January. We must do a reforecast for February, March, and April. So that might not have the top line in rooms, but it will have F&B revenue. It will have outside catering, which has improved a lot. So in my opinion, you should always reforecast the budget and take a snapshot every 3 months. Particularly now, you'll find that we will be in loss-making scenarios because no room revenue. It will only have F&B revenue. Maybe outside catering we are pushing. We might have small weddings of 100 people. We might learn to look at staffing in another way, all multi-skill staff. And please don't rush to rehire. Especially in admin, HR, security, we must be lean and mean. I had a general manager who would never hire accountants, account staff. You know, he would only hire operational people who will help the reception, waiting staff in the F&B. You know, at least those are departments which make money. So this is the ideal time for you to relook at your manning. A good business hotel those days, if it's 100 rooms, it could have 150 staff. Now I go around all these hotels in Colombo, they have all dropped their staff. Ideal time to relook. Your chef could be, when it's free, a waiter too. You know, so we must think out of the box and see where we can reduce. Because staffing once hired in Sri Lanka, you can't terminate them, and you mustn't terminate them. You know, it's very essential.
Right. Okay. So what you're saying is
ideal time to relook at your manning.
Okay. Very important. Very important. In terms of you're a very practical person. In terms of approaching certain proposals, certain numbers, certain calculations, certain analysis, what do you recommend? Could you share some practical ways of approaching this?
Now, if you look at Sri Lanka, for example, I think post-COVID, maybe after the vaccinations come, an ideal room rate would be $100. $100, but we have to be strong enough to believe in our product. You know, of course, there are some big companies who have the travel agency. They also own hotels. They also own a fleet of cars. So they can undercut on the room rate because they are making money on the drop. Dropping from Kandy to the airport, they are making money, maybe 4,000 rupees. But a standalone poor hotel can only make from the room rate. So it's a very challenging thing. But now I was in Maldives recently, means pre-COVID. They were so strong on their product, 300 US, don't come. So if Maldives only have C, C, and C, but they have built a perception among the younger community. If you're on honeymoon, come to Maldives. It's all the perception. Poor Sri Lanka, beautiful island. We have cultural triangle, we have Kataragama, we have parched areas like Jaffna, we have the East Coast, we have surfing. But for some reason, they are only willing to pay $80 half board. Why? I think the hoteliers should be strong enough to work together. If we now take the Colombo hoteliers, one day they say they want the guaranteed rate. The next day they say they don't want the guaranteed rate. We must believe in our product, hold hands, and not undercut each other. I worked in Kuwait about 20 years ago. They had 40% occupancy round the year, but room rate $150 to $200. They were still making money, but they never undercut each other. They might give one breakfast there, they might give a small airport drop, but basic room rate is still $200. So I am very, very strong. We must hold hands. We can't undercut each other. So that's the key.
Okay, very important there. Nirmalan, you mentioned about small players, isolated hotels, not big players, major chains who have the entire product portfolio, but standalone hoteliers. Are you implying they too should get together, hold hands and work together?
Yes, definitely. Because I can tell, because I know all about Candy. They are not holding hands. If you look at the hotels, they are worth $100. Only room. Because now we have service charge and the TDL. So it's like the room rate plus 11%. It's not like 1 year ago when with all the VAT and the taxes, the room was $100, taxes and the service charge was 30%. I think the takeaway, my humble opinion to the owners, the general managers, the directors of finance, please hold hands. Sri Lanka is a beautiful island. I do not understand why we have to sell for $80. I think we must have $125 for 5-star hotels. And then we must have a pie, which we accommodate everyone, 60 to 70% at a business class rate.
On the same topic, allow me to probe on that. What can small to medium size hotels who operate by themselves, how can they compete with the big chains? How should they position themselves against the big players?
No, it is all service, because it is all service, and service. Now, when I started my hotel career, the payback of a hotel was 7 years. I'm talking 5-star hotels. Now, 15 to 20 years. And I do not understand, I'm sorry to say this, they might find fault. When I look around, monstrous 5-star hotels are due to open in the next 2 years. And I do not understand how we are going to fill these rooms. The poor hotels which have not done refurbishment, they cannot compete. So you must understand, before you spend money on hotels, you must do a feasibility. You must know when you're going to get the payback. Otherwise, we are building, and for what? If you do anything in the commercial world, you must make money. And if you ask me, the hotels in Colombo now, unless they have got their payback, they won't pay back in 15 to 20 years. You must have a good average rate. And I think a good average rate for the Colombo hotels is 125 US net. Otherwise, where can you make money? Because F&B only makes about, if you sell a buffet for 3,000 rupees, your cost is about 1,000 rupees. And F&B is high labor driven. chefs and waiters and waiters and waiters, and you can't make money.
Okay. Again, very important point, and you're really emphasizing that. We can see one can say there are some glimpses of hope with the very few tourists came from Ukraine and made certain headlines. We are not going to go into detail, but till we reach the levels that where we were, what can hoteliers do to attract local tourism?
The thing is, we have to go by the Ministry of Health, because there are certain rules during COVID time. It was doing so well till October 2nd. All the five-star hotels, restaurants were booming. Now, hopefully with vaccines, I think by April, we should have at least 20% of the people vaccinated. So we should be in a better picture. But I'm a strong believer. Let COVID be by one side, we must live our life. We cannot say COVID. People are poor, they don't have money. So my humble opinion, let COVID be by the side, adhere to all the health guidelines, and you carry on your life. Sun will shine. We are now very close to the goalpost with the vaccines, but I think a proper season will only come November, December of 2021. And a real back to normal, maybe 2022 winter. But I think we must go about our normal selves and carry on.
For local tourists, should the hoteliers do something creative, i.e., I saw in major hotels advertising more about takeaways, things like that? Would it help to turn the wheels till the...
No, I think they did very well with takeaways because I love food. And all these hotels in Colombo, I can't mention names, they were very strong in takeaways. But F&B can only do 30 to 35% profit.
Right.
That is, what do I mean by that? Food revenue, less food costs, less food direct expenses. Of course, takeaway wages are only the boy delivering, but there is still the chefs who have to prepare. So takeaway was a very good thing during the last 4 months.
Okay. What else like that they can do to attract locals?
I think they were doing very well, except that these health guidelines came that you cannot have, when you sit in a table, you can't have more than 2 people. I go a lot around the hotels. We have done very well the health guidelines. SLTD has done a very good job. And I think the hoteliers have supported them well. It's just that COVID came in between. And we have to live with COVID.
Exactly. Could you also touch base on good governance?
Yes, that's also one of my favorite topics. Because as an accountant, I learned in life, making money is not good enough. It is important, but you have to pay your taxes, you have to pay your EPF, you have to pay your ETF, you have to look after your staff. Good governance is essential. So if you want me to judge a good hotel, I think they must have good profit, happy, contented staff, good audit report, and also pay all their taxes, VAT, all the following month. So good governance is very, very important.
Okay. We could also take any questions from the audience, if there are any. We could give a few minutes for any questions from the audience.
Please.
As we go on. Actually, may I please request, if you have any questions, you could type in and I could read out the question for Nirmalan to answer.
I will certainly try if I can.
If you can't, I'm sure you know who can really. So it's Nirmalan being typically down to earth, I think. Okay, I can see a few people are typing. Any questions from the audience? Let me ask you another question, Nirmalan.
Sure, sure.
In terms of as an industry, what are your predictions? Do you see any major change to the industry? Maybe with the technology coming in, do you see new players emerging in the industry?
You mean the hospitality industry?
In the hospitality industry, what do you foresee happening, especially on post-COVID, as a sector?
Post-COVID, I feel the Europeans all have got stuck without traveling. The UK, but we have to get our airline infrastructure right, because we have to make sure Sri Lankan flies from Germany, Sri Lankan flies from Paris, because if we are going to depend on Emirates coming 4 times a day via Dubai and Qatar coming 4 times a day via Doha, we are not really having control of our life, you know. And I feel people will travel and we must be ready, but we must be, I'm a strong believer, we must know our product. We mustn't drop our room rates drastically.
Talking about room rates, there's a question from the audience. Why should you be charging $100 even post-COVID? Could you justify that again, please? There's a question from the audience.
Yes, because if you don't charge $100, which is about 18,000 rupees, you cannot make money, you know, because rooms should traditionally make 75 to 80%. F&B must traditionally make 35 to 40% of its department profit. And hopefully GOP, which is gross operating profit, should be at least 35%. So being busy for the sake of being busy is of not worth. Because if you take any 5-star hotel in Sri Lanka, their electricity bill is 2 to 3 million a month, you know. So, and their payroll is about 18 to 20% of its revenue. So hotel industry, to really start making money, you must have a good room rate, which is the average room rate. Then you must have a good RevPAR, revenue per available room. I mean, our RevPAR is like $10 to $20 nowadays. You know, you can't make money because, like I told you, all these 5-star hotels are building. They can't recoup their capital cost for 20 years.
Right. There's a question from the same individual. Should we first build demand for our as a destination before we charge such a rate?
Yes, but unfortunately, we are now having a glut of hotel rooms coming up. You know, we are having maybe Intercontinental will open, Holiday Inn is going to open, ITC is going to open, Sheraton is going to open. We might have, on top of my head, maybe 3,000 5-star hotel rooms in the next 2 to 3 years. And what is the question asking?
Whether we should first create a demand before we charge a rate like $100.
Demand, we are a beautiful island. We have to market it properly. We have Kataragama, we have Anuradhapura, we have Polonnaruwa, we have Jaffna, we have the East Coast. But if Maldives can believe in its chalets, why can't we believe in our cultural triangle? We are the most hospitable people, you know. And I worked in 10 countries. My humble opinion, Sri Lanka is a beautiful country. I'm glad I came back.
Okay, very, very important Very important. I think you touched a very important point that sometimes we really don't market our country as well as we
I
should.
still don't understand. I'm a hotelier for 40 years. I don't know what we are doing wrong. I think the main thing is we are not holding hands. We don't believe in our product. You know, trust me, if we charge 125 US and tell them that's the rate. If you go to Kingsbury, you go to Cinnamon, you go to Ramada, it's $100. You know, so the guest and the tour operator is forced to come to us. If under the table you make it $40, they are laughing at us. Who is benefiting? The customer and the conglomerate big travel agent who has the fleet and the travel agency. I can't mention names. They are laughing at us.
Okay. So there is this sentiment, Sri Lanka. Okay, let me probe on the.
Are they asking anything else?
Yes. Okay. So pre-COVID, we were struggling with occupancy, and our occupancies were less than 40% compared to the room inventory. So are we as good as we think, or are you still saying we have not marketed well?
No, I think it's many things together. We have not marketed our product. We don't believe in our product. And then we don't hold hands. Because we are talking about tourists. 2.2 million tourists. So what? They might be spending $40. We must get at least $100 room rates, which is nowadays 19,000 rupees. Room only, without tax and TDL, without service charge and tax.
Okay.
Then we can raise our head.
Okay.
Then we can look after our people.
Right. Many people believe relatively or compared to certain countries, Sri Lanka still, even after the second wave of COVID, Sri Lanka still have relatively done well.
Oh, I strongly agree with
COVID
that.
pandemic. Will that help us to position ourselves even better?
I think so, because we are 22 million people. How many have died? Only 225. Okay, you might say that our constitution is stronger, but I think we have still done a reasonably good job. We are respecting, this is all my view, please. I still think we are respecting the Ministry of Health. We are following certain rules, but we have to, I'm not talking be like USA, but we have to live our life. We can't say COVID. You tell an employee who draws 1,000 rupees a day, don't come out of the cluster, don't do this. Where are they going to eat? Who is going to give? You know? So I am a strong believer we are doing the correct thing. COVID on one side, we have to live our life. We have to be careful, because otherwise we can't raise our head.
Okay.
Are they asking some more?
Yes, I want to ask another question. Are there things that hoteliers can do to reduce cost without compromising the service and the product they offer?
No, first they must know their fixed cost per day. I'm sure a lot of them do know,
Okay.
but they must know their basic wage is so much, their electricity, water, all of them is so much. So they must know, say, imagine they have 20 million per day. They must know how many rooms they have to sell to cover this fixed cost. I'm sure many of them know, but it's a catch-22. We have 3-4 challenges. We don't believe in our product, I think. Then we don't commercially look at our bottom line in any venture we do. So we have to look at all these things.
Another valid question being asked by a participant. Sri Lankan government guidelines for COVID compels you to only to have 50% of the room occupancy. How can hoteliers still survive?
No,
that being in place.
no, I totally agree. But still, during this pandemic time, we have to follow the guidelines, because now we have managed virtually 11 months. So we have to bite the bullet for the next 2 months, because that is a social question, health question.
Yes. Another participant is asking again, in terms of cost savings from the senior management team who are accountable for these cost savings and proper financial management, what advice you can give it to them to keep the costs down in these times? Yeah, could you? Yes.
No, first, I'm sure the hotels know their basic payroll cost. They know their electricity cost. They know all their fixed costs. But unfortunately, when you don't have rooms being sold, you can't even, some hotels are finding it difficult to even pay their basic wage of 100 staff. So it's a unique situation, so we have to bite the bullet. And I think government gave about 2 months loans. And I think many of them have gone to the banks and got that facility.
Right.
But like you first asked me, compared to England, America, Europe, we have done reasonably well. But hotel industry is suffering. And I don't know a direct solution to tell you, because COVID was a unique thing. So, but relatively we have done well, but hotel industry has done badly.
Okay. We probably have one. We can take one more question if there are any, as we are approaching.
Shabinder?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, it's not a question. Actually, I want to commend the very interactive session that you had, and I'm very thankful, Nirmalan. I want to mention something that where I am involved in this nautical tourism.
Yes.
Right. So we have been, as all the other hotel sector, we also had to restrict our movements because of the pandemic. Now, thanks to the health sector, they have given us the way forward how to maintain health regulations. And I see as a sector, because we are in the whole value chain, in manufacturing, chartering, everything. When I visited Jaffna quite recently, where I saw where we went to present ourselves about our industry, about catamaran making yachts.
Yes, yes.
I was really happy, right? Where one hotel owner said, it's the difference is the size of the boat. We call it the boat, you call it the yacht. But Mr. Rajapaksa, we are already engaged in the chartering, right? In the chartering, in the sense providing pleasure rides to the tourists and also the locals. So at this time of the year, we all know that tourists are restricted. We don't have tourists coming in. But thanks to the local tourists, our local people who wants to enjoy the water-based tourism, now I see it's gathering the momentum. And as very well said by Nirmalan, in the yacht also, it's like a hotel because we have 4, 6, 10 cabins. And
Yes.
the staff that we do, the training is a multi-skill training, right? So that had given a lot of hopes for the new younger generation, because we have started the SAIL training academy and with the training of staff on the yacht. So this is just for food for thought. I thought I will mention for the listeners also. We want to make it one of the industries the way forward for the yachting and the nautical tourism.
Kausal,
Thank you.
that's a valid point because we must look at all out-of-the-box ideas. I think nautical tourism is also the way to go.
Exactly.
Everything must be out of the box, because the pandemic has
Exactly.
made us think out of the box and value our staff and look at the way we do business in a new way.
Exactly. So quite recently, the discussion I had with one of the five-star hotels a couple of days ago, I told them, wherever you don't have your hotel by the side of the sea, we can provide our yacht with rooms.
Very good.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very,
Kausal.
very out-of-the-box ideas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. I think we have really come to the end of this session, Nirmalan. On behalf of CMI Sri Lanka and on behalf of all our participants, I thank resource
you.
person Nirmalan Nagendra for sharing his very valuable insights. And on behalf of CMI Sri Lanka, I also thank all the participants for joining us and hope to see you in our next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.